Welcome to the Worst Golf Podcast. Everybody wants to be the best. We strive to be the worst. When a bad take is necessary, and we have lots of them today, we'll be here to share it with you. I'm your host, JB. With me is Morgan.
Hello.
She'll spend some of her time off camera, but she's here to keep me in line with all those buttons. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe, like the video, do everything. When the show's over, we're going to give you kind of a task to leave in the comments because there's a couple of good discussions we have going on. Morgan, are you ready for this week?
Oh, I'm ready.
We have a lot coming. First up, I want to say that we're going to announce two people who won our U.S. Team EMEA contest, Shaft Up, and they're going to win a free trip to Texas to go to Briggs Ranch, get fit for a new Callaway Paradigm driver, and enjoy some pretty special golf. That place is awesome.
Yes, it is.
So stay tuned for that. I see somebody mentioned that bandwagon Jags fan. I'm just gonna I am a Jags fan to an extent. I'm one of those people who's not like most of you guys who move to Florida and say go Ohio State or go New York Giants or whatever the fill in the blank team is. I always, no matter where I live, support the local team. It's kind of different, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think also it's because people have grown up with that team. So they're
For what
just
it's worth, she's got a little Trevor Lawrence jacket
I
thing
do
going
actually.
on right now too.
Yeah, I do. We went and got some Jags gear after they won the other day.
Yeah, so support local in a lot of different things, but support local with our sports too. I see M. Maynard wrote Duval, as he's rooting for the Lions, but he can support them too. He lives down in Florida. Wanted to give a shout out Coral Safe, the people who jumped in and bought some. I know in a lot of places you're not using sunscreen yet, but the sticks, the thing that I absolutely love, they are back in stock. So if you haven't picked one up, the link is in this video thread. It's on our forum thread, and we have another forum thread about it. It is the best way to do sunscreen. Literally, no dirty hands. Apply it on with a stick. It works great. We have a lot to cover today.
Yes, we do.
So starting with next week is the PGA show.
I know.
Are you excited about that?
Yay.
The PGA show is different. A lot of people, they look at it and we see the forum threads. Hey, are you going? It's going to be super exciting. Blah. It's work for us. But this year is a little different. Do you have something you want to add there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, instead of being pre-annoyed, my feet pre-hurt.
That's a good one.
My feet already hurt just thinking about it.
Before COVID, the PGA show was a place for us to go and see a lot of our friends and industry partners and talk about new products, things like that. And then kind of during COVID and really last year, I don't want to say died, but it shrunk back a little bit. And now I think it's trying to rediscover it. I don't know what the future holds for that, but this year looks like it's going to be a pretty strong show.
I'm shocked at how many people are going. So I think that it shows some hope. I think that it's possible. I'll be curious to see after this, when it completes, what happens.
So Morgan and I are going to head down there. We have a couple of dinners set up that we have to go to. And while there, we're going to hit the show floor for one day. And we'll be bringing all of what we see to the people at the forum. We haven't decided if we're going to do it in one single thread like PGA show with us, or if we'll do it in the individual booth threads, what equipment we're seeing and who we're talking to. We haven't decided that part yet, but we'll figure all that out.
But it won't be as in-depth as we've done previous years, like prior to COVID and everything, where we had tons of videos and stuff like that. Yeah, it's gonna be in a different scale.
Yeah, in the past we've shot between 40 and 50 videos over the course of a couple of days with a whole team, camera crew, the whole 9 yards. We're not doing that this year. We're just going to be there for a couple of different things and hopefully bring you some pretty cool stuff. So we're looking forward to that. We had a new set of irons go out in a review or preview thread on Wilson with their new Dynapower. And of course, anytime a new set of irons comes out, the first thing that is talked about by usually old guys with their hands raised to the sky, their fists raised to the sky, as I alienate the first group of demographic already, is, oh my God, the lofts. Oh, go fuck yourself. Sorry. I said I wasn't going to rant today. But a couple of years ago, I came up with kind of a phrase, a name for people. And it's when you clicked on this video, you probably saw it there with the picture. They're called Loft Peepers. I see the people in the comments all counting
and it was
the
such an
F-bombs.
unnecessary one.
I know, it just kind of came out. The Loft Peeper thing, and people ask where it came from. So a number of years ago, Morgan and I were looking for new video gear for, I don't remember what shoot we were doing, but we were looking to add some new cameras and some video gear. And a guy made mention of a pixel peeper.
Yes.
In the camera world. And that's a person who looks at looks at the megapixels of the camera, nothing else, and says, well, that's the best one.
Right.
And then complains if something is a really good camera but doesn't quite have the megapixels of something else. They called them pixel peepers. It's
fully logical.
Yeah. In some ways, it goes back to something else that I talked about, which is the fitness industry. They have what they call bro science.
Yes.
Which is no matter what product comes out, somebody somewhere will find a study that was done saying, well, you need 6 milligrams of this to have it work, and that product only has 4. That's absurd. Doesn't mean the product's going to work and it's not going to suck, but
right.
So Loft Peeper came to be, and I've put it in a number of articles that I've written, and it kind of took off from there. And I see somebody wrote leaf peepers. That's a real thing.
That is a real thing.
The people who go out to see leaves in the fall. We don't really have that in Florida.
No, but it is pretty.
It is. So that became a thing. And it led to the topic that I know a lot of THPers wanted to hear about, which is loft jacking, jacked lofts and irons and things like that. To start with, part of this will be a rant, but part of this is also, I showed Morgan my sheet. How would you describe this that you're seeing on my screen?
Your note outline?
Yeah. I'm old now. I can't remember it all. I had to write it all down.
Wait, do you need to get your reading glasses?
Actually, yeah. I don't have them, but I probably need them.
You said you did.
So I've reached out and spoken to a lot of different engineers, a lot of people who've designed clubs in the past who aren't in the industry anymore. A lot of people on the marketing side, and then taken all that with, I guess, my bro science and put something together. And I'm going to be reading some of this because there's some that are quotes and there's some that, frankly, I'm so old I don't remember. But the first thing is, when it comes to jacked lofts, do people really care about them? Or is it like a feign rage against the idea of buying something new or understanding what's taking place? So a couple of years ago, we saw the same thing with golf balls. Mm-hmm. And everybody talked about compression in golf balls and how it's, it's the only thing that matters other than the cover, obviously, but that to make a ball fast, you make it hard. And with that comes more spin. And to make a ball less spinny, you have to make it softer, which is low spin. And there's so many ways around that now with as a core can change. It's not just one number, that there are companies where they measure compression, but it's not a number that matters as much anymore. I'll use Callaway as an example here with the ChromeSoft XLS, which is a lower spin ball despite being firmer. So I relate a lot of it to that. But, if you look at, do we really care? It's the beauty of having so many choices. So if you go back to when people started with the jacked lofts, we can go all the way back to early 90s, 1992 or 1993. Cobra had a 42 degree or a 43 degree pitching wedge. But again, that doesn't fit a narrative of this is a new thing to sell clubs. I'm reading a quote here, and it's kind of convoluted, but it's from an R&D person who's in the industry right now. And it says, maybe it is what golfers want, because it's not that all lofts are jacked, but this started from the tour van. Tour vans were filled with bending and combined with a mental aspect of hitting a high number. So what they mean by that is 10 to 15 years ago, tour players were getting their irons bent stronger despite what was being on the iron as a number, because they were hitting the ball so high and with a lot of spin, and they wanted to reduce that and pick up some distance because the courses were getting longer. So we started relating to that and wanted to have that aspect of it, but also combine that with, there is a mental aspect to all this of, I feel more comfortable, meaning the golfer, hitting a 7 iron or an 8 iron than a 6 iron.
I totally get that.
So most golfers don't know their loft. So if that's the case, then I think there's something to that. Now I'm going to read a quote from a different engineer that kind of goes against what I'm saying, but makes a lot of sense. So he wanted to be unnamed, but some people might be able to figure it out. It completely depends on the player. Depending on your swing speed, there's really a threshold loft that you can't handle anything under. For an average swinger, that's probably in the low 20s in terms of loft. As you get stronger and swing faster, obviously that number gets lower, and you can probably handle something as low as 16 degrees. But as you slow your swing speed down or fit into a moderate category, there are players who probably should not have anything less than 28 degrees of loft on a thin-soled iron. Switching to something that has a larger sole and more weight low and deep, you can handle much less speed and still get a launch angle. So as you can see, there's a little bit to that. And I know this part of it is kind of boring for some people, but I'm going to keep going. You always hear about, every time the jacked lofts come out from the Loft Peepers, you hear about it's all ego. And yet the surface, the only thing that's ego related are those that are not using strong lofts and getting upset with somebody who is, and I think there's something to that needs to be examined more, because who cares? Is there marketing involved? Yeah. There are sets that simply make the loft stronger. I mean, Ping's done it for a number of years with their power spec or whatever they call it, but it's not across the board. The idea that loft is the only thing that creates distance is just wrong. If it were the case, all 9-degree drivers would go further than 10.5-degree drivers. And everybody knows that's not the case. Now, here's something that I'm going to part with in a second about stamped loft versus what it really is, which is also a fascinating thing.
Okay.
But loft matters. It matters a lot. And if it was the only thing that mattered, all of this would make sense. But how many people are actually measuring the lofts of the clubs they get? That's another one I want to add. And that's what I'm going to part with. Because if you're not, you have no idea what's in your club anyway.
That's true.
You're expecting club companies to deliver what they say. And some of them do a really good job of that. In the past year, Strixon, Mizuno, and Callaway have all been pretty spot on of everything they've sent us, within a half a degree. TaylorMade, the last set we got from them, we got the 7, 8, and 9 iron sent to us, and they were all the same loft.
That's right. I remember that.
And we got the 2, 3 woods. They were 3 degrees lower lofted than they say they are. So if you're not checking the lofts, it doesn't really matter anyway. Just think about this next time you are. If you don't want to buy strong lofted irons, don't fucking buy them. Buy whatever you want. Every company makes an iron in any kind of set in loft configuration you would want, and don't worry about it. And I think that when push comes to shove, understanding why lofts change and not just I need 4-degree increments across will make people a better golfer. And if they have any questions on this, I'm happy to dive into it, which is easier in the written word than it is orally, or probably not the best choice of words. Anyway, so just think about this. Next time you see somebody make a post that says, oh, my buddy was playing with a brand new set of irons and he was telling me that he was out driving me and then I had to point out his loss. Why not just be happy for the dude?
It's so much easier to be mad.
It goes back to a number of things we've said in the past. Like, why shit on this guy for just trying a new set of irons and enjoying them? Because he just spent a lot of money on them.
That's human nature.
Yeah, it's just much easier, I guess, to be an asshole.
Exactly.
Somebody asked me a question about how I settled on my bag. And the truth is we test everything.
Yeah.
You know, I've settled on what I have, and I update my signature on the THP forum to allow it. But that's how I do it. I choose what I want to play. I can play anything I want. I think I have 4 brands in there right now. So, that's kind of my thing. It's time for, I just went on my rant, which probably put a couple of people to sleep, but tell us about your rant and your Get Off My Lawn segment this week.
Okay, so I had an original Get Off My Lawn segment, but I just remembered something. He's not going to like this.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Yeah. So I'm going to change my Get Off My Lawn. Originally, my Get Off My Lawn was about people being late, like habitually late.
Freaking hate
terrible.
Late people.
So we're going to put a pin in that for next episode. This one is about taking people's stuff.
Oh,
where I'm going with this.
Why don't you bring this up?
Yeah. Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a specific type of protein bar that I absolutely love. I told him the other day that I did. We had a whole long conversation, but he wasn't listening. I can't get them.
I'm sure the audience can relate to that.
Yeah,
you tuning me out.
It's fine. It's fine. I can't get them anymore. They're out of stock. And the last time I did order them, there was a big issue with shipping. So I've been saving these. Like I eat them every now and then because they are my absolute favorite. So what
Cody just wrote in the chat, pure protein bars are the best. I wonder if he's actually ever had a good protein bar.
I don't even think I've ever tried a pure.
They're chewy.
No. So guess who over here ate one the other day? Yeah. And then when I said to him, seriously, you have a bunch in your, we each have bins of protein bars and stuff. I was like, you have a bunch in yours. You took with the one flavor that is my absolute favorite. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take another one too. So that's my get off my lawn. Get your grubby little hands off my protein bars.
To be fair, she put the stale, crusty ones in my bin.
Liar. I actually went out and bought, I actually ordered online the specific flavors that you like. So you're welcome.
So somebody asked in the chat where Arrow is. He's actually in a bed behind us here, sound asleep. But yeah, I have no shame in taking your protein bar, and it was delicious.
Yeah, I know it's delicious. That's why I'm saving them, because I can't get anymore.
You tell me basically what the last month and a half have been. It said, listen, fatty, you need to lose some weight.
Okay, never said that. So not once.
I'm doing that, and now you're telling me I should eat something different than what you have.
Yes, eat your own protein bars.
No, that's not how this works. Jumping back into THPR questions. Excuse me.
I knew I would throw you for a loop on that one.
Somebody asked, is the Team Tour Edge coming back? And that's a really good question. For those that don't know, we do something on our forum every year called Team Tour Edge, TEEM, which stands for Tour Edge Exotics, where we pick a few people and they receive a package from Tour Edge a few times a year, and their job is to review those products. I do feel unsafe, and I should be blinking for the people in the chat asking.
That's what I'm laughing at.
Emotional little distress thing going on.
Should have checked that box.
To answer the question, I guess we can announce it now. Yeah, Team Tour Edge is coming back.
That's
we're going to select some THPers coming up here. Probably do so on the show. And we're going to get some reviews of some of the exotic stuff that's out there, which is really, really good right now.
I'm excited about that.
Very slept on, not literally. And I think it's something that when you see the reviews from peer to peer, it makes a whole lot of sense. But let's be honest, who doesn't like getting a big brown box delivered to their house full of golf clubs? I mean, you, but
just in general, I think anybody likes getting a big box filled with fun stuff that they like.
Yeah. So, yes, Team Tour Edge is coming back, and we're going to have some fun with it. We will have a sign up on that on the forum coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll announce the team on this show. So excited to bring that one back. Next THPR question. What's the scariest shot in golf for my game? Right now, all of them. But right now, generally speaking, and being real, it's off the tee. I've never had a two-way miss off the tee in my entire golfing life.
No, you've been super consistent.
Yeah, I either play a soft fade, or growing up and when I was younger, I played a pretty hard draw, borderline hook, but always kind of controlled it. Now it's either a dead pull or a dead push. So faces square coming through, just not square to the target. We're working on fixing that because it's a freaking disaster. Should we announce some Shaft Up winners?
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Should we announce both winners right now, or should we announce one and then another one at the end of the show?
I like the way you think. I think we do one and then another one later.
Okay, I got to put it down here in our show notes because right now. I'm old and can't remember shit anymore. Sorry, stuff. Okay, first Shaft Up winner, and
in no particular order.
No, and this is one that you're gonna laugh when you hear the story of us trying to figure out what the name was.
Oh yeah, and I brilliantly just figured it out, I think.
Yeah, so
not to pat
the person's forum name is AGRSIV, and I said aggressive. And Morgan
said aggressive. I think it might be aggressive. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So you are in. I don't know if he's in here. I don't know his real name. I've never met him. But congratulations, you're on your way to Briggs Ranch. for a freaking awesome trip. We actually posted they have that drink cart. And it's a drink cart up front and a taco bar in the back. Like, how awesome is that?
I could eat some tacos right now. I'm starving.
Yeah, I'm pretty hungry too. Arrow just left the room.
Yeah, he's done with us.
Yeah.
Did you close that door?
No.
Oh,
it'll be fine. Let it go.
Okay.
We'll come back and give the next one later on in the show.
Yeah, definitely.
So somebody asked a question of you.
Okay.
What sets you off? And if you can stretch this, I'll go make sure.
Okay. Well, somebody who eats my protein bars, that sets me off. But really for me, my biggest problem, and I had posted this in there, is that I am somebody who internalizes. So for the most part, I will get annoyed by something, but I keep it all inside and I never tell the person or whatever what's going on. But on the flip side, I cannot actually hide my emotions on my face. Like, it's impossible because admittedly, I can be moody. I don't even want to hear it.
No, she's an angel.
Exactly. So if I'm feeling a certain way, I won't verbalize it, which is terrible. But instead, I will keep it to myself. But I will show it on my face and I will show it in my attitude. And it's really just not a good combination. And I've been working on that. I don't think I'm doing it successfully, but I am working on that. But as far as things that actually trigger me, pretty much anything that attacks my family, like, that is a no-go. And taking my food.
That goes back to the story. I think we shared it here where we were moving from Tampa to Clearwater and we were having a garage sale.
Oh yeah.
And we had our dog Ellie back then, and she was it's a weird breed, but think of it as like a corgi. And so they're kind of rounded, like barrel shaped, and then short little legs. And somebody walked up and said, "Wow, she's a little chubby." And Morgan blurts out right at her, "You're fat."
Yeah, I didn't even think twice.
So yeah, you've been set off a few times.
Oh, I will say the biggest thing that sets me off, and it's not that I think I'm like the smartest person in the world. I'm kind of a moron on a lot of things, but when you question my intelligence, there's something about, like, it's not even questioning my intelligence so much as if you think I'm an idiot. What?
We had a guy, he hasn't been on the forum in years, who used to mansplain everything to you.
Oh my God.
And I always used to laugh every time and just, I'd want to quote him and just say, like, #mansplained.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I can be. I'm not saying I can't be, but when what?
You said I'm not an idiot, and they said you did marry me.
I didn't say I made good decisions.
What does that say of them if they're listening to two idiots?
This is true. This is very true. But yeah, that's it.
No, she didn't drop the C word. She usually does that,
only behind closed doors. Like, I don't say that in
public.
Yeah, I don't say that in public. I'll only say that amongst friends.
The next THPR question is an interesting one because we've talked about this before about how do you choose a country club? Real quick.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing my food. I just don't like it when it disappears and then I go looking for it and it's not there. That's when I get annoyed. It's true.
How do you choose a country club? And a lot of people view joining a club as, can I play enough rounds where it evens out financially?
Sure, which makes sense.
And I think there's something to that. You do have to use it, but for us there's a little more to it because I want more than a golf course.
Right.
Yeah, I want good dining. I want a good social calendar, men's groups for golf, and the ability to play quickly. For people like us, there'd be no reason to join a public course.
No.
So that part is kind of us. Locker rooms, things like that, those things matter. But for us, we really need it to be about the social environment because before we joined golf in Nashville, we were going to just join the social because the food was so good and the club scene was good.
Yeah. What was also funny too, because literally every neighbor who like we met when we moved in, were like, are you members of the club? The food's amazing. Literally, it was like every single person said the exact same thing. I'll add that for me, because I don't really play golf, it would be more important to have maybe like a fitness.
Yeah.
Or like, so it would be more like the additional things. So like you said, like the experience rather than just how many rounds of golf can you play. Oh, and then also the ability like we had where you could go out and just play a couple of holes and then leave and have like the freedom to do that where it's not packed all the time.
That was a big one for us. Somebody asked an interesting question and it kind of relates to Loft earlier. They said if Loft Peepers were not like a real thing, why couldn't companies all have a standard loft and show what they can do differently with launch? So I asked an engineer who's not with a company right now, but has designed hundreds and hundreds of clubs. And he said the biggest issue with that is golfers all think they hit the ball too high, and golfers almost always hit the ball too low. So by changing trajectory as the main thing, which can be done quite easily according to them, that's something that wouldn't sell. Now, we're seeing a little bit of that currently. Mizuno brought out the HL set for JPX, and we're going to see how that one does, because I think if it does extremely well, we may see something become a more of a trend, because for fitters, it can really help. How high is too high? I generally, obviously geography plays a role here, but I generally try to look for something at 100 feet is the norm for somebody like me, or for most golfers. So 33 yards for all your clubs. If you're in an area where the ball is just going to run forever, firm ground and everything, you might want to bring it down a little bit, at least for the longer clubs like driver. But that's kind of my launch. 100 feet seems to be a good norm. Somebody else asked a question about alternative putting styles.
Yeah.
And this brought up a pretty interesting, because I have a friend who's going through bad yips, and my father went through it.
Oh, yeah.
5 or 6 years ago.
I remember that.
It was horrifying to look at. He would putt and his hands would shake violently as he was coming through. And if you didn't tell him to pick up, he would be there all day.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy.
So alternative putting styles, we saw the broomstick just win this last year. You want to jump in?
No.
Oh, I thought you were about to.
Oh, no, I was just getting my hand ready in case I needed to.
The broomstick just won this last week, and it's got some things, left hand low. I'm going to talk about two in particular that are really different. The first is lean lock, which is, we put it in our email blast that came out last month, the last issue. And it's a putter for people with the yips. And it's kind of like anchored on your arm, but not really, because it's completely different. Is that it's on your front forward facing arm, and that has supposedly cured my friend. My friend's name is Alex. He's not a golf nerd like I am, but he picked one up when he saw our magazine issue, and it's apparently cured him.
That's awesome.
So if you really, really struggle, yes, it looks weird, but it's something to consider. The second one is side saddle, which is so different.
So weird.
Where you're forward facing the hole, and doing, for people on video, you can kind of see me, you're putting like this. Now, before people say, oh, that's fucking weird, that's really
unnecessary.
I want to ask, is it weird, or is it weird putting not looking at your target? Like, no. Forget the fact that golfers fear change.
Right.
Like, we get that. We know you've been putting away a certain way your whole life. Golfers fear change. We've already established that over the last, months of episodes.
So I'm just going to jump in. I've watched people putt like that, and I don't know, like, I feel like my vertigo would bother me. Like, I feel like I couldn't like focus, because I wouldn't know, like, my eyes and my hands, like, there would be like no connection.
Yeah, I could see that. No, to answer somebody in the chat, side saddle's not illegal. In a traditional sense, you can't straddle the ball, but in a traditional sense, side saddle's not illegal. But standing next to the ball, facing the target, looking at it, everything about that, in theory, should make more sense than looking away from your target while you putt. You can keep your eye on the ball and the target at the same time, but it goes back to the same thing. Like, it's different.
Yeah, it's the hand-eye coordination thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
I think that we should try that at some point on the forum, if we could actually get people to do it, because like I said, golfers don't handle change real well, even if it shows something that actually works.
That's what I was going to say. Even if they try, even if someone tries, they're still going to be like, nah, I don't like it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I think it'd be cool to try on the forum or at a THP event sometime.
Ooh, now that I like that idea.
Where we make people putt side saddle, or if they would for a round and then traditional. Like, I don't know how to do that necessarily, but I think it'd be cool.
You could do it for like the night putting.
Yeah.
That would work.
I got to get some side saddle putters.
Yeah.
It's something I've considered, and I'm not a bad putter. It's probably the only thing in my game that's working right now. But I see people in the comment, I wouldn't be able to control this. Well, you would if you practiced it. I think that's a different thing with a lot of things that are new.
Yeah.
You try it once and you're like, oh, this feels weird, I'm out. But if it did work and you could try it for the course of a few weeks, and it showed actually better, because what I see over and over again, people are terrible at putting.
Horrible. What's that whole thing? Drive for show, putt for dough.
And then you ask them, like, yeah, I'm a good putter. Well, that's because you're raking most of them.
Yeah.
I've only been to one THP event. It was a Morgan Cup a couple of years ago, where people were draining putts left and right. Most of the time, if it's outside of 4 feet, you're not making it. We see it over and over again. And to be fair, the guys on tour aren't making 10-footers routinely.
Yeah, it's not a gimme.
So, there's a lot that goes into it. So I think it'd be pretty cool. I think that people in general are a little scared of it. But let's change the subject with your recipe of the week.
Oh, okay.
Because this is a really good one.
I clicked the button, but it didn't want to go. Okay, so I wanted to stick with something kind of healthy since everybody's still kind of doing that. And I also wanted to go with something that was familiar, but is going to be prepared differently. So these are chicken parm meatloaf muffins. And I put muffins in quotes for those who are listening and not watching, because they're made in muffin tins. So it's going to be like an individual portion. You can have like 1, 2, 3, however many you want. Obviously, the more you eat, the more calories, but 2 to 3 is honestly like a really good portion. And it's the same concept as chicken parm, except you're going to use ground chicken instead of chicken breast. And for people who want to do low carb, you could actually you could just cut back on the breadcrumbs, because it's not going to change the texture that much. Or you could switch to ground up pork rinds. I was reaching for JB to give me the answer. Pork rinds.
The hell?
I couldn't think of the word. Or you could actually just add more Parmesan cheese. All of those would be pretty good binders to help with to keep it together. But it's really super easy. It's all the ingredients that you would think of in a chicken parm. And it's great because you can have, like I said, individual portions. It's great for meal prepping. And it's
really good.
Well, and it reheats really well, and it's great for people who have families, for like kids and stuff, because of the smaller portions too. So I have the whole recipe ready to go, and we'll post it up on the forum in just a minute. Not just a minute. You started coughing. He started coughing, and it like threw me off, and my brain just stopped working for a second. But I will have it posted up when the show is over. Anyhow, back to
JB. Speaking of that, we're gonna do something. You've been getting some requests of, I like meatball subs. How can I make that healthier? As people turn over that new leaf for the new year, we're gonna start a thread on the forum for people who are members of the forum that I think people will enjoy, which is called Health It Up. And they could submit to you, let's say, their favorite dish, and you can kind of make some suggestions on how to make it slightly healthier. What do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, in case people are wondering why I look so ridiculous, this is literally like post-workout. I didn't care. So
nobody has looked for that.
Well, I'm just saying it because it makes me feel better. But that goes back to the whole, I'm trying to get back into my healthy routine as well. And I love taking dishes that are my favorites that are unhealthy and making them healthy. So whether it's a recipe I've created, or if it's a recipe like I've searched and I found a recipe for it, or a lot of times I usually like get ideas and then kind of make it my own. But yeah, if there is an ingredient that you are like, okay, I love this, but how can I make it healthier? Or it's a full-on dish. I will do my best to see if I can find an alternative for you that still tastes good and is still easy to make, but will be a little bit healthier for you. And of course, it would also depend on what kind of diet you're on. I personally, as I've said before, don't believe in restrictive diets, but I know lots of people are doing that for whatever reason. So I'll see if I can help.
Well, I think you'll be able to help some people. I got a rant I'm going to go on here that I just added to the sheet, because you probably would have cut me off beforehand.
Oh, hold on one second. I didn't realize this was showing like that, but it's actually pretty good. My favorite is I think it's
for those listening, she's talking about a Celsius energy drink.
Somebody was asking about my energy drink, because it says it's the Celsius Peach Vibe, and I do like this one. But they have I think it's like a mango green tea that's not carbonated. That's my favorite, but I can't find it in bulk. So these are cheaper because you can buy them at like Sam's Club or Costco.
Interestingly enough, about Celsius, I keep getting this stupid ad on social media for their new flavor that's like orange marshmallow.
Yes, we have to try that.
Yeah,
sounds
I'm gonna
so
have to
good.
try that. So I got a question sent to me via private message this morning.
Okay.
And I wanted to address it, and it's not a bad thing. They asked about an event we did that they were not involved in, and they thought it was a really cool experience. They liked the thing of it. And I'm not going to say what it is.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about.
And they want to know why it wasn't coming back. And I kind of linked to a post I made about that, why it's not coming back. But here's just what I'm going to say. If you get lucky enough to get into one of our experiences, and I think if people continue to try to get in, eventually they get in. But if you get lucky enough to get in, don't do the one thing that's the most selfish thing there is, which is not ever mention your equipment you received afterward. If you've never been to a THP experience, it comes, the information's out ahead of time, but it comes with equipment, sometimes full bag, sometimes a shaft, sometimes a driver, sometimes a set of irons, whatever it is. If you finish the event and you had a great time, and you had a wonderful time meeting THPers and the people from the company and playing the golf course, whatever it is, and then you never mention that equipment, there is 0% chance that somebody else is going to get a chance to go to that event.
Yeah.
Because it goes away.
Yeah.
And we had one happen last year about that, and people said they had a great time. Well, you have to be present. And if you're not present, that's going to be just a tough thing. And fortunately for us, we're still close with that company and we're going to do some other things with them, but that event couldn't continue on.
Right.
So before we get back into golf, I had an interesting conversation with the same person, Alex, that we were talking about the putting yips.
Okay.
We were talking about sandwiches.
I love sandwiches.
And
I'm so hungry.
best sandwich. Like, what's your favorite sandwich? What is your favorite sandwich?
It's a loaded question.
It's really not.
Well, it kind of is, because it depends. Hot sandwich, cold sandwich, things like that. But I'm probably going to go, and people might say, well, this is not a sandwich, but whatever. I'm going with it. I'm going to say a meatball sub, because that is...
A sub's not a sandwich. No, I'm just kidding.
See, that's what I said. I know somebody's like, a sub's not totally a sandwich.
Kidding.
Whatever.
It is a sandwich.
And I know someone's going to say, it's not a sub, it's a hero, or it's a
grinder,
whatever.
Get the hell out
it's a meatball sub, and it's freaking delicious, and it needs extra sauce and lots of cheese, and it needs to be nice and crispy on the bread, but a little soft on the bottom of the bread. So good. I'd eat that right now. I'm really hungry.
Good Lord. Mine was down to 4. 3. No, 4. I couldn't pick a winner.
Pick one.
I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to decide. The first, Cuban sandwich in Florida.
Delicious.
There's nothing like it.
You ruin it without the pickle, though.
Well, but you go to other places around the country, and they say they have a Cuban, and then it's like on a sub roll.
I know, and it's just deli meat.
Yeah, Cuban bread is definitely a thing. It's actually got lard in it. It's what makes it great. But the Cuban sandwich is one. The second, a grouper sandwich, where the grouper's either fried or blackened. Those are both amazing sandwiches, usually found in Florida or the Gulf region,
with
I should say.
Bacon and avocado.
And then 2 that probably a lot of people have never heard of, or at least tried. The first is the croque monsieur. There's also a croque madame, but the croque monsieur, which is...
Do you think people could figure out the difference without you telling them what the difference is?
I would hope so.
I would hope so too, but I bet a lot of people won't know.
A croque monsieur is basically a French ham and cheese. So it's a ham sandwich with Gruyere cheese, because it's good melting cheese. And then it's topped with a bechamel, which is like a cream sauce. It's absolutely heavenly and divine. And it's unlike anything they really do. It's so rich. You can literally feel yourself getting fatter as you eat it.
Yeah, like you look at it and you're just like, oh, I don't even know if I can eat this whole thing. But it is pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah.
The other one is an open face sandwich, which is a whole other discussion. Is it really a sandwich?
What's the other version?
The croque madame.
You're right.
Got egg.
There you go.
Obviously.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at was, you know, the difference. You got an egg.
You
get it.
The other one is a Kentucky hot brown. It's just a hot brown when you're in Kentucky. But it is a open face sandwich, which some people may say open faced is not a sandwich. I don't know. Is it? I think it is. I mean, you eat it with a fork, but
it's still bread and meat and all that. So yeah, I'm gonna say so.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just recently discovered Monte Cristos. I'd probably say like a year ago. They're delicious.
If you never had one at Bennigan's, you've never eaten.
I haven't.
Excuse me. The Kentucky hot brown is turkey and bacon. Most people have a little bit of tomato on it, and then it's topped in a Mornay sauce, which is, think of like a lighter version of nacho cheese sauce, but not nacho flavored. You know,
right.
Just like a cheese sauce.
Like a queso.
It is truly an amazing sandwich. So those two things, that's my 4 sandwiches. If I had to pick an absolute favorite,
4 sandwiches.
Yeah, if I had to pick an absolute favorite, I'm probably going the croque monsieur.
Really?
Yeah, you don't see them often, and it's absolutely divine. Or the grouper sandwich. I'd give my grouper buffalo style fried. Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy when I go to the place. They all do it, and then it ends up on the menu
because it's delicious.
It's absolutely fantastic. Going back to some golf questions. And I know there's some people who are still waiting to find out who the other person is.
Yeah.
I'll give that information after I answer this next question. They asked my favorite golf glove right now. It's the Caddy Daddy Pro, the Claw Pro. That's my favorite glove. That's the one I've been using for pretty much the last 10 rounds. Somebody just asked what a Kentucky Hot Brown is. Where were they the last 10 minutes?
I know. And they didn't even say Hot Brown. They just said Kentucky Brown.
Yeah. And then they asked, when will the Callaway glove be released that they were talking about on in the Granddaddy thread this year? Next week or 2 weeks? Next week, I believe. We'll have a full feature on that, and I can say that within a couple of weeks, Austin Tudor from Callaway will be on Off Course with Dan talking about a bunch of new products, but that's one of them. So you won't want to miss that, because I think it's a glove. People ask about best gloves and things like that, but a lot of people buy their glove based on price point.
Yeah, I would believe that.
And the most popular glove in golf by a huge margin is under $15.
Okay.
And this glove's going to be pretty special in that price point. So I hope that makes sense, and we'll have a bunch more coming on that.
Someone said that Austin just showed it on Twitter.
Yeah, but he didn't talk text, so
yeah,
there's some stuff going on there that's a little unique. Ryan Hawk in the chat said pork tenderloin sandwich. That's a strong contender too. Outside of Iowa and Florida, I've never had a good one though.
Yeah, that is true. What was the place? Oh, Pete and Shorty's. If you ever go, I don't know if they're still around, but if they are, if you're ever in Clearwater, go to Pete and Shorty's. They have a great pork tenderloin sandwich, but more than that, get the tater tots. Their tater tots are amazing.
What is happening here? What is going on? Where did this go from golf gloves to tater tots?
Said Florida, and you were talking about pork tenderloin sandwiches, so I'm just throwing that out there.
We still got a couple of questions to answer, but before that, let me go ahead and announce the second person.
You've made them wait long enough.
In Shaft Up. Congratulations to Greg Kolbick. You are headed to Shaft Up in Texas.
Congratulations, guys.
So hopefully you're here. I don't know if the first person
I saw him in here just a few minutes ago.
Aggressive.
It's
definitely going to be aggressive from now on.
We're both going to be wrong. You know that.
Yeah, probably. It's probably some weird acronym or initials or something like that.
Somebody said Roman numerals. Who knows?
Yeah. Greg Kolbick, you were on your way to Shaft Up to get fit by Danny Lee with a new driver and play Briggs Ranch, which is pretty awesome. Jumping back into some golf questions. Does the placebo effect in equipment matter? And is it real? You answer that first.
Wait, say it again.
Well, first switch the camera to you.
Okay.
Does the placebo effect in golf, is it real?
For sure. The placebo effect in everything is real. I don't care what the product is. I don't care what industry it is. I think it's real no matter what.
I think it is. I think mental side of golf is pretty real in general. The one thing I will say is there's some of it where if you convince yourself of it, it's real. I said that about Mizuno irons for years. Not that Mizuno irons don't feel great. It's just when every single person hits it and they're like, oh, it's like butter.
Right.
Eventually you realize that they have no idea. They're not feeling anything. I think most golfers don't really feel much.
No, they hear.
They hear or they just hit. And
yeah.
They're going with what's there. And butter's cast. So we had a strong debate with Chris Vachal from Mizuno years ago at their office, where I said, why can you need to stop saying that because butter's cast? And he's like, so what would it be? Mayo? So
yeah.
I don't think it has the same kind of aspect to it. I think it's real. My thing is it doesn't matter if it's real. If it matters to you, that's the only thing that matters. Golfers should play whatever they want to play.
Yep.
If they need to convince themselves that playing blades is going to make them better, even though it's completely horseshit, great. As long as I want everybody to have equipment that makes you want to play golf.
Yeah, I would agree. I just hate when people do it and it actually hurts their game and they're not having fun out there. Like, why? Don't do that to yourself. It's the same thing as like not wanting to change the tee box when you get older. Like, just enjoy the game for what it is and don't worry about your ego.
I'm with you there. And, I've said that about training aids. Somebody always asks, are there any training aids you recommend? There are like 10 training aids that make sense to me. Now, all training aids to an extent will work, in my opinion. And I've tested most of them through over the years. But there's two things that always come up with training aids.
You got to use them.
Well, three things when you count that. The first is they're all made like shit.
Yeah.
It is 2 pieces of plastic hooked together with a rubber band, MacGyver it up and be like, look, if you swing this 55 times, you're going to have the perfect swing. And then you swing it 8 and it breaks. The second thing is some of them, because golfers suck. We all suck at golf. Even really good golfers suck at golf compared to what's going on, at the highest level.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, everybody would be on tour.
Don't make a training aid so frustratingly impossible that nobody's going to want to do it after trying it for 10 minutes. I remember years ago, the Medicus, remember that? The thing with nobody could hit it because it was hard. And then when you did hit it, you're like, oh, wait, this hinge is built like shit.
I'm going to add something too.
Go for it.
Don't make a training aid that has a 15-page booklet on how to use it.
Oh, no kidding there. That. No kidding there. I see Ryan Liberty.
It's like the IKEA of IKEA furniture of, no.
Ryan Liberty's in the chat trying to stand up for Iowa. Nobody's going to criticize Iowa. They have a great pork tenderloin sandwich. Somebody asked another question about favorite item by price point, and I don't know the answer to this really.
Yeah.
There were a couple that jumped out at different price points, so I'll read them off. The first is under $10, obviously Coral Safe.
Obviously.
I used it before we signed up. I'll continue to use it. The stick sunscreen is the greatest thing ever. The second, under $200, a Theragun Mini, and it's not close.
No.
It's changed not golf and travel for me, but my life. And I think that's important. Under $50, a good pair of rain gloves. I think it is. Everybody always says I don't play in the rain. I don't need rain gear or rain gloves. That's stupid, first of all. I agree. Playing in the rain sucks. But let's say you win a trip to go to Bandon Dunes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been to Bandon Dunes a few times, and it's been raining half the time.
Yeah, I don't think they have great weather.
So you're going to spend all that money or win that trip and then go there and just pout in the corner like a little bitch?
No, that's fine. I'm good with that one.
It's
Morgan
raining.
approved.
I don't do that. So I don't know. I think that if you ever travel for golf, having rain gear and a good pair of rain gloves is something that just everybody should have. The best rain glove right now is probably FootJoy. It's certainly the most popular. They work pretty darn well. Somebody asked that in the chat. There's a bunch of good ones though, but I would say probably FootJoy for true being there in the present. I have been fortunate enough to be briefed by a couple of others that are coming soon, and I think there will be some contenders, let's say. Do you have any price points that jump out at you?
No. See, no, I don't. I was trying to think about it, but I really don't. My problem is that like right now, all I'm thinking about is all the food talk.
Somebody asked about what point during the round do I flash the logo? I wish I could. I know Austin Tudor's not in the show because he's got another meeting, but if he was in the chat, I would say, where are my gloves? It should not be that hard for me to get these gloves made. Everybody should want it because I'd be flashing it on the first tee. Next question. Where do I stand on lie angles, multiple lie angles in a set? And this was something that frankly was new to me. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I know people get weird and stuff like that, but if you have a set of golf, let's just say irons for lack of a better, so we're not going through all of them, and you're 3 through 5, or let's say 1 degree upright and 6 through pitching wedge or 1 degree flat or standard. I don't know. That's weird to me. And you know what's funny is it makes perfect sense.
Well, especially now with so many combo sets.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that. As you said that, I was like, you know what? With combo sets, it kind of makes sense.
And, there's something to it. A more upright club is less prone to go high and right. There's things that are there. It's just not something without this goes back to my bro science thing I talked about earlier, where somebody saw something once and they're like, oh, I hit it high and right, therefore I'm going to bend it this way. Like, go get fit. And when you do that, it's only with one iron usually. So ask to do the 3 extremes. Go with a 6 or 7 iron, a pitching wedge, and a 4 iron or hybrid or whatever, and see where you are with those. Because otherwise, I struggle to see the benefit there, as most people deliver the club similarly. But as a club gets longer, swings change. So I think there's something to that. We have a bunch of stuff coming up. Next week's show will be PGA show dependent.
Yeah, I was
We're gonna do a show. I just don't know if it'll be before Friday or Thursday late afternoon or something like that. We'll have an update next week on that.
Yeah, and maybe it's just audio.
It could be just audio, but we'll have a full update on that coming up. We also have a contest going on right now on Twitter to win a set of irons. If you are not following THP Golf on Twitter, do so. Entering takes 2 seconds. You can win yourself a set of Ping G425 irons. We have another contest coming to Twitter next week and another contest coming up on the THP forum. And those 2 names we announced, Greg Kolbick and Agersiv, if you want to be them, we're doing Shaft Up number 2. We've already announced it.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we're going to Arbor Links in Nebraska. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm actually pretty excited about that for you too, and I never really thought I'd be excited for you to go to Nebraska.
Let's be honest. You're kind of more excited about me just leaving.
Well, I mean, no, of course not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Good Lord. I think that probably wraps up the show this week. So for myself and Morgan, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Congrats again to Greg and Agersiv, and we will be back next week.
Bye, everybody.